Hey, Kevin.
Hey, we're back after four months.
It's been a long
I
time.
thought you were gonna say it's been a hot minute. You usually say it's a hot minute.
This is a really hot minute. It's like longer than a hot minute because a hot minute's like 2 weeks. This is like
I mean, a
16
minute.
weeks.
A minute's a minute. The saying doesn't make sense, but anyway.
When you increase something by heat, it starts to vibrate and expand. That's why a hot minute is longer than a normal minute.
Okay, sure. I appreciate the explanation. We're gonna talk. We were gonna talk about the gap, the 4-month gap. How did you feel about the 4-month gap?
I wanted the 4-month gap. I always wanted it. It was supposed to be a 3-month gap, but life gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
And we were gonna do it anyway because it kind of aligned with our in-game 3-month time skip.
Yeah, the downtime. Yeah.
Yes. What did we do during that 3-month, 4-month gap?
You mean in real life or in
real life?
In game?
In real life.
Well, for a lot of it, not a lot at all. But for some of it, one of our players, Aiden, who plays Ryan, he ran his mini campaign, the Ubanian Knights mini campaign, as he calls it, which was a collection of one-shots, each one-shot focusing on a player and a gang that they're like overseeing, and then all culminating into an Avengers-esque...
The Avengers episode.
Yeah, which was the last one shot, and that took place over 6 or 7
sessions.
I think it was 6, because one for each player, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not including Aiden, and then
the final Avengers session. I mean, if you include the very first one, which wasn't part of the gap, where we introduced some of the older characters.
Was it? That was like the first one he did, the first one shot.
Yeah,
the
one
first
with the
escorting the priest one.
Yeah, who stole that baby, they kidnapped the kid.
Yeah, I guess that's like the prequel, but
yeah, but in this gap it was 6 sessions.
It wasn't tied to the big one, but I guess 7 if you include that one unofficially. But yeah, and yeah, we all some of us reprised some of the characters we've played before. I reprised a character called Zora, who I played in a previous one-shot that Aiden ran, who's like a kind of bloodthirsty, crazy bitch, paladin bitch.
Part of the what? The Steel Sisters?
The Steel Sisters, which is like a battle sorority full of battle-hardened women who chop heads for Jesus. In this case, Christoph.
Yeah.
Or an older version of Christoph called Crumb. You played a new character.
Wolf. I would have liked to play my last character, but she got messed up real badly at the end of that one.
She got brain wiped.
It was that, or she gets her tongue cut off. And so she went back to school to go learn all the languages again and go through all that torture.
Yeah, so she wouldn't be
sucks
around.
For her. Instead, I played Wolf, who was not exactly a noble son, but the son of a prominent family, the eldest son of a very messed up family.
Yeah, and we all, and like for his one shot, we all played his siblings. So I played one of 2 twins, and I think Lewis played like a younger brother. Matt was supposed to be there, but he wasn't. He was supposed to play the youngest brother. I think it was like Ivan or something like that.
Yeah, the asshole.
Yeah, that ended like... That was messy. Like there was this whole like conspiracy about the dad. Like, our family didn't really love the dad because he didn't really love us. Yeah. And there was like everyone had daddy issues. And then like
broken home.
Yeah, and then like we found like he got assassinated by somebody, or we thought that he was behind this whole conspiracy, but then he ended up getting killed or something or other.
Because of the poison.
Yeah, some sort of poison.
We tried to fix it. We didn't fix it.
And like there was some other person or some other organization behind, like, what were we even investigating in the first place?
There was some kind of shady dealings going on in the slums, and we needed
like escaped slave or something like that.
Yeah, because our mother was sick, if you remember correctly, and we needed to gather the ingredients.
Oh right.
And that led us on a wild goose chase into the forest to fight some guys that led us back home where our old papa died. But at least we cured mother. They suffered from the same poison, and we had to choose between Ma or Pa, and the choice was obvious because Dad was an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
But then we tried to save him anyway, and we failed.
Yeah, that was one of those one shots where it was like everyone thought that like the dad was behind poisoning Mom, but it was one of those things where it's just like whatever you would think would happen did happen. Like it was like the plot itself was very predictable, but we kind of like misconstrued it as like, oh, it's inter-family conflict.
5D chess.
The father is just trying to like get rid of loose ends and stuff like that, and stuff that's tying him down. But no, apparently he was all cleared because he himself died, and then we like chased whoever was in the like. I forget who like even was behind all of that.
Yeah,
we thought it was like some like slave assassin that our father hired or some shit like that. And,
oh yeah, because it was like a non-human scum from the Ubanians.
Anyway, that ended up tearing up the family apart
That
because
fractured us real badly.
like one of us, I think my character like didn't want to be a part of like Ubania anymore because she was like very dissatisfied with like how the whole empire worked, and like she never really got along with Daddy no more at all. So she was like, I'm gonna leave and not come back. And then the other twin was like, yeah, I might just like go and explore. Lewis's character is like, yeah, I'm gonna go into battle and kill myself or something or other.
He planned his death out to the end, so we know how that character dies, unfortunately. Yeah, anyway, that was my character.
Yeah, that's just one character. I think my character, I was training a bunch of Steel Sister initiates, and we went on some like crazy suicidal journey to fight a dragon, beat the dragon, and then my character wasn't too happy with like the superior who put her up to that, and there was a bit of like heated argument there. But all in all, not really as complex as the other one, as the Welkin family one. And I think for Lewis was also a clusterfuck.
Yeah, all of them were kind of messed up. Like everyone kind of changed a bit, like after that one, like the characters kind of went through a bit of a development phase.
Yeah,
and it was pretty fun seeing them just kind of come together at the very end, where we all strike these dumbass poses and we get these superpowers from this eldritch being.
Yeah,
I don't know. The campaign ended on this kind of crazy, wacky, very open-ended, ambitious note. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we probably won't go through all of them, all the one shots, but yeah, the Avengers episode was just all of them coming together, and then we got summoned by a mysterious voice in a cave during a battle, and then this cave was like, worship me or whatever, it was like join me and I'll give you an unimaginable power, which he did. But
he also looks kind of fucked up and villainy.
Yeah, he's like a demon or something like he's like a demon god,
one.
something like that.
Yeah.
And and then we like it was like the classic like everyone goes back home and like ties up their loose ends for their own back. So, like if anyone's played Grand Theft Auto 5's storyline and near the end where everyone like ties up each other's like loose ends, it's like that. So, like Lewis's character went back and like killed a bunch of dudes that fucked him up in his one shot. I killed my superior who fucked me over, and then you like saved your sister or something like that.
I tried to save my sister and rolled like 3 natural ones in a row. That was great. Everyone kind of went back, tied up their loose ends, and prepared themselves for the eternal battle or the battle on a different plane.
I think that's a great setup for like an evil campaign if he was gonna run like an evil campaign.
Very far down the line.
Yeah, that's like the perfect setup. Makes sense in the world.
I think overall it was just like a really nice filler, something to just kind of pass the time. We got a taste of the Ubanians and kind of what they're like. I mean, I think Aiden's ridden more than you and I of Ubania at kind of this point, or at least he's run more Ubanian sessions at this point.
Definitely. I've run like 3 sessions of that other one, and it wasn't nearly as like there wasn't nearly as much lore back then than in Aiden's one. And I think Aiden's one doesn't actually have that much lore in it either. Like there's like bits and pieces here, but it's mostly like I mean, I think the one that has the most lore is his first one shot, which was the Christoph baby snatching one.
That had some fun stuff.
Yeah, he had some pretty cool lore for that one. But this was just all around, like he just set up a situation, like a simple situation, and we just played that through. It wasn't like we were exploring the history of Ubanian lineages or whatever it was. It was just like, this is like, he gave us bits and pieces of like the military system, like what ranks they were, and like, what kind of different factions there were. Just bits and pieces here, not too much.
So there's potential further down the line.
Oh yeah, if he wants to run
like
one,
a full on.
and I think he caught the bug, because I think after that he ran another one shot. Different setting
That's right.
for like a Harry Potter-esque setting where it's like
Men in Black.
modern world, but like there's like, and behind this illusion there's like this magical world, Men in Black style
And
type
there's a secret
thing.
society and all these monsters.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely crazy. So much more crazy than what I could come up with my fantasy. Like when I think fantasy, I think like Lord of the Rings type esque. This is like modern, abstract kind of.
Yeah.
You ever go into like a modern like art gallery?
Yeah.
And you look at the paintings and think, this is fucking weird. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that for me, but then I was like, I could kind of get behind this. This is kind of cool.
I mean, there's so much potential behind what fantasy could be. Besides, they're like, the swords and shields and sword and sorcery type fantasy, which is like, at this point, generic. Everyone and their mum and dad knows the bow slinging elf and the axe wielding dwarf and all of that.
That's true.
Although those are still fun, But like, if you wanted to do something different, you could, and people do. So yeah.
It was a nice, refreshing take on the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And eventually,
Weebaxia. I stole that from Lachlan. But yeah, Weebaxia, after 4 months, and I think the week leading up to the first session of 2021, everyone was like, oh, I want to play Axia so fucking bad. And we want to get back to the action, the main story so bad.
It's been a hotter minute. I almost said it again.
A blazing minute. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just before we even go into like describing the session, what did you think of it overall?
It was a different session. Like, it was like different from what we usually do. Usually we're like, they move a lot slower than this one. Obviously this was like a downtime session, and if anyone's played a downtime session, they move a lot quicker because like it's off a period of time. In this case, we were passing 3 months of time, and if you want to have a moment with someone, you just bring it up. You just bring it up. It's not like a minute by minute, play by play like a normal campaign would be. Much faster, and like you gloss over a lot of the details. It's like you did this or you did this, and if you want to do something, like you want to have a special moment, you just bring that up whenever you want to bring that up.
That's right.
And I think we had a lot more heartfelt moments in this one than we did in any other one we did.
Really?
Like there was a lot of like people changing, and a lot of people like kind of realizing like their place in the world and like what they're actually fighting for and their motives and that sort of thing. At least with my character, I had a lot of that, and I feel like a lot of other characters had like some form of change. Maybe not all of them, but some definitely more than usually in your campaign.
Yeah.
Because we just like would just go to the next thing. We're doing the next thing.
Do you think we can attribute those changes to like 3-4 months of thinking just about it? Like, I wonder what's going to happen next. Maybe my character is going to change. Or do you think it's just because of this session that these changes happened?
I know some of the players like have come to you saying like what kind of things that they want to do and achieve.
That's correct.
Yeah, some of it could be like it's just been a long break. They've had a lot of time to think, and that can definitely change your mindset when you've been away from something for so long. You kind of like you get a fresh take. Of what your character is. And I think I had that. I think I had something like that back when we had the big year-long hiatus back in like 2019.
Ooh, the dark ages. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it was great. Good session overall. And I hope like at least like interaction-wise, I hope like the players get more comfortable being a bit more vulnerable, allowing their characters to develop more, naturally in that sort of way. Because people change all the time.
Yeah, this was definitely a big step.
Yeah.
For both the players and the characters.
Yeah.
Definitely some of the characters making some very, very big changes to their personalities. And the convenient thing about changes like this is that it's set over the time skip, right? It's 3 months. It's not just like today something happened, tomorrow I'm a different person. It's kind of spread over 3 months, which makes it maybe realistic isn't the word I'd use.
Yeah, I mean,
it's more maybe a little more believable.
In this context, like it probably, I said it during the after the it would have made it would have been way more realistic if it was over 3 years, like the kind of developments that happen.
Yeah.
But it's fantasy, it's D&D, whatever.
Yeah, people change fast in D&D.
Yeah, people change fast, and you can pretend if you want that was like 3 years or whatever. But
they'd be wrong, but you can pretend. Yes.
Yeah, you could pretend, but I think that's a good segue to just get into the session.
Okay. So
unless you had anything else.
No, not really. When I was writing this session, I remember you telling me 4 months ago or whatever when we did the last session that Snow wanted to plot the political destabilization of the city of Huria.
Yes.
You wanted to tear this city apart from the inside out. You want people to be killing each other. You want wars in the streets. You want the primes to be hating each other.
Maybe not wars necessarily, but like definitely some sort of revolution.
Yeah, some kind of big change. And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how to, perhaps the best word is gamify it, turn it into actual game mechanics that that you can perceive, that you can actually look at and change. And so I was writing this Excel spreadsheet, which had the 11 primes on each side, and the axes would show where they intercept, where the relationships stand. And this would go from hostile to unfriendly to neutral to friendly to allies. I had to keep it super fucking simple.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would just take way too long. And over this 3-month time skip, players are given various opportunities to influence these relationships between both themselves and the primes, and the primes with each other. And do you think that you guys utilized it to the best you could, or was it just like a crappy kind of...
Definitely not. I think some of us, we'll get into it, but Storm, Lewis's character, didn't really have an opportunity to do that. Not like he really wanted to.
Yeah, it's not something you had to do.
It's not like, he wanted to do that, but his whole thing was a whole different, separate thing. But he was kind of involved because the other characters came to him and stuff like that. I think the worst, out of everyone, and ironically, Snow was the worst person to go about it, because it was his idea, and he wanted, he kind of thought up this grand scheme of just tearing down the system and rebuilding it. But then he kind of got turned around from a moment, which we'll probably get into it.
Yeah, there's a moment in the part where you kind of get shot down.
Yeah, and then and then just he just stopped. He wasn't doing that as much. And the other, I think Ryan and probably Tokul were some of the bigger players in that. But even then, I think Ryan only changed 1 or 2 relationships, and I think Tokul, did he even change a relation? Did Tokul even change a relationship?
I don't think he wanted to. I think he was quite satisfied with the status quo. I know Ryan mostly wanted to involve himself with just increasing the relations between the party and other people rather than people and other people, I guess. So it was more interpersonal for him. I don't know. I'm not too angry or disappointed that people didn't use it. It was more like a thing that was there if they wanted to use it. I didn't want it to be the exact focus.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I kind of expected that we would just gloss over the 3 months, and then we just start from day 1 after the 3 months. And you could have just said, oh, over the 3 months you learned that this table. You could have just given that to us, and then realistically that would have probably taken 3 months to acquire that information anyway.
Yeah.
But you just gave that to us off the bat, and we tried to work with it, but didn't really go out as planned.
Well, it happens. I think I was definitely on the boat with the just skip 3 months just like that. but it just didn't quite sit right for me that nothing really happens
Yeah.
during those 3 months. Um, so I wanted there to be some kind of progression. I didn't think it would take as long as it did, to be honest, because once we got to the third like chunk of month, it was already getting really late at that point. So
Yeah.
we just started to try and speed things up. I had combat planned that didn't show up.
Well, I think you say something to that idea like almost every week, where it's just like, oh, that was a lot quicker, or that was a lot shorter than I was planning it to be.
You know, every time I think I kind of understand how long you guys talk for, I'm always wrong. I always underestimate how much you guys talk with each other in character in game. And like I don't even have to do anything like most of the time these times. It's just usually just two characters talking to each other. And I'm not saying it's a detriment to the campaign itself, but it definitely is a very time consuming
Yeah.
bit. And I don't know, some people have different opinions on whether it's good or bad, but I don't really mind it at all. I think it's fun. I think it helps character development.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on like your investment.
Yeah.
Like, are you invested in the other characters? Are you invested in your own character? Are you invested in the stuff that the DM has prepared for you? You know, if you're not invested, then I guess that's not the campaign for you. You can have like a, you know, like some people just like combat and loot, which I find like is fucking insane.
go.
Like,
Here we go.
all right, I won't get into it, but I think that's just like, that is just so different from how I think I would
D&D.
enjoy D&D,
Yes.
and how you could enjoy D&D. Like, I feel it's just more rewarding to focus on the more character aspect of D&D rather than like, you know, the stats and the roles of D&D, which are a part of D&D and give it its structure to allow for the character stuff, but I don't think it should be like a focus. Well, I personally don't enjoy that as a focus of what the game is about. Yeah.
So if you want to kill monsters and get loot, just play a fucking RPG. Just play a
Just
fucking single player
play
game.
a fucking
Go play a
video
single
game,
player
okay?
Yeah.
It does all the calculations for you. You
Yeah.
don't have to waste other people's time doing that shit by yourself.
Anyway,
Let's get into the recap.
okay. I think we should do this in characters and the whole 3 months. So like Ryan, his 3
Yeah,
months.
okay, we'll focus
All
on
right,
there.
let's start with Maple.
Maple, great.
Actually, his one's really important. Let's start with the people who didn't
How
get
about
that much
how
content.
about we go from
Like-
shortest arcs to longest arcs?
Okay, let's start with Ryan.
Ryan, I think he had the shortest arc.
Okay, so Ryan, at the start of the 3 months, he planned to increase his deception proficiency and become proficient in deception.
Mm-hmm.
He planned this out by working with Ty to get lessons from her.
Yep, and she's the like Robin Hood of
She is the leader of the thieves,
the Thieves
Guild
Guild
of this
yeah,
city.
so that would make sense that she would be able to teach him that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we kind of assume that he would be like conning rich men out of their money and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I think for him, when I was thinking about it, I was like, this would be kind of him like relearning how to lie. Maybe he's been so rusty out of being a Night Watch member that now he's trying to get back into it. Now he's trying to learn again.
It's like it's not very clear how long he was out of the Night's Watch for. He could have been on the run for like a decade or something like that.
That's fair. And on the side, for a side hustle, he wanted to work for Creed, some odd jobs for Creed. When I was thinking and pitching this, I was like, what kind of jobs would Creed give him? And I think it's pretty similar to the stuff she gave you guys last time. Where
Yeah, like merc work.
Yeah, merc work, where, you know, you're a bodyguard, whatever, you're transporting supplies, you're moving shipments of drugs or whatever. When I asked Ryan what kind of jobs he'd take, I gave him some options.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of shady stuff like moving people, like
Ooh,
moving
trafficking?
like human trafficking, like moving orphans and kids and all this kind of fucked up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, I don't want any part of that. I just want the dirty work, not too dirty, but you know, like I'm still gonna ship drugs or whatever. That was interesting. I mean, that's kind of expected, right? He's semi of a good guy these days.
Yeah, he's of a good alignment.
Yeah, but I guess I didn't really expect him to say anything more than that. Like, I'm gonna stop the trafficking or whatever. It's just a natural part of Creed's operation these days, the Crimson Connection, and he can't really change that. He's just trying to get some moolah on the side.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising that Creed even allowed him a position to bargain that at all. Like,
Yeah.
if she wanted work done, I mean,
Yeah.
she's the kind of person that like hey, look, you need me more than I need you.
You do this job,
You
or
do whatever
get
the
out.
fuck I want you to do. Otherwise, you do nothing at all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it took him a solid 3 months to even ingratiate himself with her. And I'm not even sure if ingratiate is the right word here.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
just
She's a tough cookie.
she's
Tough
a
cookie to crack.
very, very tough cookie to crack. And during this 3 month period, he tried to increase the reputation of the party and Short and Stout as well, between the party and Short and Stout.
And what did he do for that?
I think he said he'd want to do like a lot of marketing, like just general bringing supplies.
Ryan for marketing. That's
Yeah, I was like, doesn't really sound like a Ryan thing, but I'll let it slide because I mean,
it's a lot different from, you remember Ryan from the very first session, and I think Aiden definitely had that like idea that Ryan was going to be the ultra edge of the party, you know?
hell yeah.
He had like, even had a different voice. It was like really low and gruff, and it's like standing off to the corner. I'm not gonna involve myself in all this wacky doohickey party shit. But now he's become more of like the group therapist, you know? He's like comforting kids and mothers when they've lost their husbands
He's
and
trying
stuff
his
like
best,
that.
and he has this kind of coolish, wacky, high
Yeah.
Ubanian accent
And I
to
think,
it.
and I think it works better for like, especially with his backstory. He's on the run from the entire fucking empire for what, deserting, or for like, it was like a slave that he freed, right? And Ubanians are big on slaves, and they don't like their property running away.
Yes.
You know, hippity hoppity, lizards are my property type deal.
Yep. Okay, yep. They don't like that, and now Ryan is trying his best to, I don't know, just try and be the better man. Try and be the best he can.
Yes.
And I think I like that character dynamic way more. I think we've probably talked about this before, but I like the way he works out now with the party
Yeah.
much more. It's much more integrated, and the dynamic is just much smoother.
He's got the feel for it, and he's
Damn right.
going with it.
Damn right.
And was that all?
I
we have
think there
for
were a
Ryan?
few other small things, but mostly, yeah, it was just him doing work,
Yeah.
getting the rep up, plus rep, with all the peeps, and oh yeah, I think he tried to smooth out the relationship between Ty and I think Adwarren at some point,
Oh yes.
because
yeah.
there was a bit of a plot point where if Total War was ever to come to the city,
Yes, I remember overhearing that, but I think I was like typing notes up for that.
you were tapping notes the whole damn time.
Yeah.
Well, where would all the citizens go? Because you're on this giant fucking turtle, and the only way to get off the city is to go by airship. And although there are quite a few airships, not all of them are going to be able to take the citizens. So where the fuck are these people going in case shit starts going south? And the best answer Ty could come up with was evacuate them into the college itself, and Adwarren, the college headmaster, the Archmage, would try and protect everybody. And so Ryan tried to smooth the relationship over between those two. And I think he did that to a little bit of success. They're now on more friendlier terms.
Did he say how he was going about that, or that was just like?
I
what
think
was trying to
he
do?
asked Ty to do it, and Ty
Did some stuff behind the scenes.
trying to be the best person she can.
I see.
She's going a little off the rails. We'll get to that, but yeah, we'll get back to that.
Okay.
And I think that's mostly Ryan's shtick.
I think next up would be
Tokul?
Tokul. Yeah.
Tokul. So when I asked him what he wanted to do the very first, at the start of the 3 months, he said he wanted to get his name out. He wanted to let the world know. He wanted to let the lizards, the Dragonborn know that the exiled prince is here, and he commands them to rally around and make change.
How do you think? How successful do you think he did? Not at all. Not at all. I don't think he even found a Dragonborn. I think he went to, who did he go to? He went to who did he go to first?
He went to Short and Stout.
He went to Short and Stout, and it was like, hey, is Stout around? And I think it's like when you're trying to find another member of your race, you know, and you're like, hey, solidarity, because we're the same race, you know what I mean?
My brother.
And no plan of how we was going to go around. Like, he could have gone anywhere, right? And he was just like, hey, can I just like talk to the other Dragonborn?
And they're just like, no, he's busy.
He's busy doing stuff, working. And he's like, oh, well, do you know if there's any other Dragonborn around here? And I'm pretty sure, like, Short was like, what, do I keep track of, like, all the demographics in the damn city? No, I am busy.
He's a busy man with a busy time, and I think Tokel also really rolled low on persuasion there.
Yeah, well, I think the whole game was a very low rolling,
For some people.
unlucky. I'm very unlucky. I didn't roll over 10. I didn't roll over 10 the whole session.
And some people rolled much higher than that.
And you, Aiden, you luck-sucking demon.
That's right. Those campaigns were just him to siphon our luck. I mean, to Tokel, it's hard. It's hard. So for the gold dragonborns, the royals of the Ivory Vale, the leading rulers, the house hunters, the top peeps, they're all gold colored scales, so it's very easy to be like, oh, yeah, that guy's royal. But now that he went through this rebirth, the phoenix born from the ashes type deal, his soot-stained scales
it's kind of like, it's got more of like a brass color.
It's more of a brass color, and people just kind of think he's bullshitting about him being the prince. And he can't prove it either anymore because he lost Divine Light, Executioner of the Wicked.
You got it.
His father's warhammer.
And he never found it either.
It got stolen from him.
Yeah.
Proof of his death. And they got sent back to Ivory Vale to his uncle and whatnot. I think his idea was very good. And I actually think he's kind of on track to getting the attention he wants. Because if you recall correctly, for the whole 3 months, he did a lot of work for Nostra, the necromancer, right? A lot of charity work. He'd come out, he'd bring baskets full of bread, he'd go feed the homeless, endear himself to the population. And by the end of it, a lot of people were like, hey, it's that guy. It's the giant slayer. But now it's the kind giant, He's
the gentle giant.
The gentle giant slayer. He's this super nice guy who's just trying to look out for the poor people, the less fortunate. And I think if he leverages that later on into kind of getting his name out as Tokel, the prince.
I think that is his number one priority, is just getting his name out as Tokel, and then trying to legitimize his name as the prince by getting that fucking hammer. Because he can't just go from being Tokel Nobody to the exiled prince, heir to the Ivory Vale.
Damn right.
In one move. So
there's a lot of steps.
I think he was in the right direction, but the execution was a bit off.
Yeah, but I think he's kind of making the right moves now.
Yeah.
To get there. I think other than that, he also was studying more lich stuff in the library.
Yes.
I think that's actually kind of cool. Because he is a paladin, and traditionally paladins hate undead. And I was like, oh yeah, kind of makes sense for him to keep up on this lich hunt. And although he didn't really get much information, I like that he was doing it anyway.
Yeah, he's putting in the effort.
Yeah, it was nice. It was good. I think by the end of it, he didn't really earn that much either. I think it was like 500 gold or something. Not that much, to be honest.
It's chump change.
Oh, and he was also doing something else. He was learning Elvish.
Oh yes, he was getting some Elvish tutoring from good old Snow, the party mummy, the party daddy.
Oh, okay, sugar daddy.
Yeah. So Snow was trying to drill some Elvish into him, common Elvish,
which Snow was also kind of ass at.
Yeah, because Snow speaks the Snow Elfish, which is it's like a different dialect, so it's kind of different. But it has its similarities, like Portuguese to Spanish type deal. So, so Snow can pick it up faster than Tokel can, because he starts from ground zero. He starts from Sub-Zero.
That's right.
Snow has a foundation there. So,
that's right.
But Snow is now proficient at Elvish, so he can be conversational when he wants to be. I think we established that. We did establish that.
That Snow or Tokel?
Snow can...
I mean, he was working on it for what?
A long
year?
time, yeah.
Almost a year of in-game time, just pouring through those books ever since... It started with a Drider. It started with a single Dryder who spoke like Old Elvish,
Yeah.
and Snow was like, "Hey, what the fuck? We don't speak the same language." And after that, he dedicated himself to research. So yeah, I'd say he's particularly fluent.
Yeah.
He could pass the language test if he needed, and now he's tutoring Tokul.
Yeah, and we're not quite there yet. I think 3 months wasn't enough time
But I
for
think
that.
he's getting close.
Getting close,
At least
though.
to hold like a basic conversation, you know. And that's cool. That's cool. It's like a prince going to a foreign country to learn like the customs and stuff.
Yeah.
He can use this later on as like a diplomat to his
Hell yeah.
country.
You need that.
That'd be kind of cool. Who would you say had more, Snow or Maple?
I think. Good question.
I think I'm leaning more towards Maple having at least more plot relevant
Okay.
stuff.
Also, we'll go with. What about Storm?
I'd put Storm maybe second place.
Second place. Okay.
Second or first? He's
So
almost tied.
we'll go with Snow.
Let's go with Snow.
Okay.
Snow was a strange one.
So that was a bit of a mess, to be honest. Bit of a mess.
That's one way to put it.
So I initially tried to like go through with this plan, trying to investigate some primes. Initially I tried to investigate Tilvir and Saria. Rolled low, so I didn't necessarily get anything useful. Then I found out that there's a relationship between Tilvir and Bodinock. They're like on friendly terms, so I assumed that they were on like a working relationship. But basically, and this crosses over with Maple's arc. Basically, Maple and Snow go over to Bodinock. Well, Snow was going with Maple, and Maple was going to Bodinock to try and like salvage the relationship somehow, but pretty poor execution, and that like wasn't terrible because we got something out of that, but like yeah, it didn't really go the way Maple planned it to go. And I think Maple was trying to like butter up Bodinock by saying like, you know, hey, we're working on, you know, getting your daughter Eliwick back, and you know, we ran an errand for you, we got some supplies from Short and Stout. But Bodinock doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a damn.
He doesn't give a
about
shit
that.
unless you have the thing that he asked for, which was his daughter. So that didn't go that well. Made some pretty poor arguments there. But then Snow tried to hassle him about his relationship with Tilvir, and then he ended up annoying Bodinock so much that he threw a prime stone at him, which having that stone makes you a prime.
Qualifies you as prime material.
So, Snow was from then on a prime, at least for a short while.
Prime number 9.
So he then...
Wait, hold on. What do you think about that interaction in general? Was that like out of left field, or was it like, this guy's kind of crazy, but I kind of see why he would do such a thing? Or is it just like, what the fuck is wrong?
Yeah, no, I always thought Bodinock was insane, so him throwing the prime stone just to get us out of there, that makes sense. Makes sense for him.
Yeah.
Who was a man of nonsense, you know?
Man, yeah. It's just chaos in one person. And to be honest, I didn't really think about that. I was like, what would this person do in this situation? Oh yeah, he'd probably do this, like, oh, this, because I think you guys said that Ravrim Soulless, the leader of the Stony Spire Pirates, wanted to become a prime.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, that guy has my daughter, and they're saying if they help that guy, then I get my daughter back. So, you know what? Here, just take the prime thing. You guys go do your thing. Go get my daughter back.
So technically,
just expedite the process. Come on.
In that sense, Maple did kind of succeed in what we were going for, but then the next set of events kind of like that fell apart. So Snow went to Ty to like figure out, okay, what's all this prime business about? Do you like get perks for being a prime? Do you get like free money or something like that?
You ain't get shit.
You don't get anything. So having the stone, being a prime, it's just a title. The only thing you get with the stone is a vote on the yearly meeting with the primes at some cave, where you get to vote where Huria, the turtle, moves to next. It doesn't have to be unanimous. It's just a majority vote of where it goes next, or where it goes during that year or wherever. So
Yep.
you charter the course for that year, and it almost never changes. But the only hitch is everyone has to vote. You can't have absent voters.
That's
You
right.
can't not vote. So, if anything, the only power you have in having the rock is withholding your vote if you wanted to hold that vote hostage. But Ty did say that, having this stone makes you a target now, because most of the primes become primes because they're already established in one way or
Yeah.
another, or people need your services for some reason. Which, in case Bodynock, he makes all the ships, so they want to keep him around to make the ships because he's the only one who can do it besides Eliwick, but she's gone off somewhere.
That's right.
So, and then there was like a huge debate about like what we were going to use the stone for. We're going to give it to Ravum Solus. Were we going to like try and use it for our own? Like try and establish ourselves as the prime. And then it came up to the idea like, okay, if we give it to Ravum Solus, then he'll fight. He'll probably come here and probably throw his weight around to fight the Bitter Matron, who he has a personal vendetta against. And, a war like a revolutionary war may ensue.
Exactly what she wanted 3 months ago.
Yeah, something like that. But then Ty was like, no, that's going to cost too many lives. We're not doing that. And she wasn't going to budge on that. So, and then, she was like, are you just doing this because you want to help the people, or are you just doing this for yourselves? And that really, like, threw Snow off balance. Because, like, yeah, we were just doing this for ourselves. The whole reason why we came up with this crazy plot is to get out from under everyone's foot. We were, like, indebted to so many people. We never really had our foot in the door anywhere. We were just kind of scraping by and trying to, like, just try and survive, basically, in this unforgiving city. And that was the whole reason. And, like, that makes sense because at some points we were fearing for our lives because there was so many people after us, and the primes probably had their eyes on us and probably, like, would stamp us out if we became too much of a problem. So, and during this time, Snow decided to take up carpentry, try and get that carpentry proficiency.
That's right.
So he went to the Carpentry Guild. Not after this, but like, during that time, he started carpentry at the Home Builders, which kind of sounds like the now bankrupt competitors to Bunnings, Home Builders. And he met a very serious man called Sirdar or Sirdar.
I think it's like Sirdar.
Sirdar, who was like this very who did they say was that guy from Parks and Recreation?
Oh, I forgot the name, but
Ross
very
something.
serious.
Ross something. He had the mustache. He was bold, very serious, and he was. You wanna go over how the interaction went? The first interaction went.
So, we have the director of the Home Builders, the only carpentry guild in town, and the director is this actually not completely bald, serious-faced man who takes his job incredibly serious. Like, even more so than like the magical-based guilds or the warriors or the archers or whatever. He's the most dedicated man to his job you will find in this whole damn city. And he questions Snow, why do you want to learn carpentry? What are you doing here? What did Snow say?
I think he said, I want to build a house. Like, I want to build homes or something like that. Something along those lines. Like, I want to be able to build houses and buildings and homes and stuff like that. And then I think he said, like, you don't want to build boats or like trebuchets or whatever. And I was just like, I mean, if I have to, I will, but not really the focus.
Yeah.
And what does he say next? What does Sirdar
He's
say?
got a very demanding list of qualifications required to even think of taking on the job of a carpenter. and I believe he says you need at least three skills: the strength of a barbarian or a warrior,
Mm-hmm.
the grace of a rogue or assassin, and the knowledge of a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
And these three things, they're very hard things to come by, and Snow tries his best. He tries his best to.
Well, Snow's honest and just says, "I have at least one of those
Yeah.
things."
Let me show you.
And like I have the grace and litheness of a thief, and he's like, "Show me." So Snow does a double backflip on the spot
Yep.
and succeeds, and then he shows him up by like, "All right, I'll show you that I also have it, but better."
That's right.
And he does a trip, and Cider does a triple backflip on the spot.
No change in expression, the same stone cold face the whole time.
I think it was just like, it's just a room where stoicness had no limits.
That's right. It was definitely one of my favorite interactions, and not what I expected it to really go by at all.
How do you expect it to go?
I don't know. I was like, it was kind of more of a like a joke thing, like something to pass the time. But then as it kind of progressed, it got more and more serious as like stuff began to unfold. Like after Snow had the encounter with Ty, and he tried to change his outlook on all the problems, and he kind of goes hand in hand with carpentry and the meditative aspect of it. And as that became more serious, you started asking the carpenter more serious questions, the master more serious questions.
I think like, yeah, it was very like, that first interaction was like, have you got what it takes? No. Well, too bad. I'm gonna drill it into you anyway.
That's right.
And it's like, when can I start? And Snow was fully on board. He like, I tried to emulate the carpenter by like, if he's this dedicated, then I gotta be twice as dedicated.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
there was no fee to it either, right? There was no tuition fee.
Yeah, I was fully prepared to like shell out whatever this guy was asking, but he's like, no fee.
The only qualification needed is the respect
Mm-hmm.
of the director, the master of the Carpenter Guild. And I think like within the second month, they're maybe not like grown close together, but the respect kind of deepened between the two.
Yeah.
Where there's this mutual like feeling of dedication to the job, where the master passes down this very ordinary looking hammer, right? Like this just normal ass looking hammer. And it looks kind of weathered. It looks kind of old.
Mm-hmm.
And I think someone else chimed in, and like they said that's how you know it's a good tool if it's lasted this long, right?
Yeah.
And although I really like this character because he says things very simply, and there's kind of a deeper message between everything he says.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of like from the outside, he's like giving you this ordinary hammer, like here you go. But if you kind of look deeper, it's like this hammer's probably passed a lot of hands in a lot of lifetimes, a lot of other masters, and he's handing it to you, of all people, out of all his like disciples or whatever, he's handing it to you, and that kind of means something. That kind of means something to him.
And I tried.
And he doesn't say anything about it. He's just like, take it.
I tried to have Snow give that the greatest respect that he could, by like, this thing is something that he's passing down. It looks like an ordinary hammer, but he, the master, is giving it to me. So
right.
it means something. So
it has to mean something.
Hold it within both hands, my head below the hammer, give it the greatest respect.
It's like a katana or something.
It's like a ceremony. It's a ceremonial instrument. For the greatest of rituals, that is building a house.
And this is after you finish your first table, right?
Yeah,
the table, like what was it, like the snowflake curtain? Like,
yeah, it was like kind of like a callback to Snow's homeland, a place, I think I described it, a place where the winter never really ends, never ending winter. And it was just like a table with like kind of like snowflakes ingrained between the legs where they connect to the flat bit of the table, and I guess the side of the table kind of like curve out a bit, like kind of like the corners of the buildings and stuff like that. And wasn't perfect by the carpenter's standards, but it was getting along, and he, Snow fixed up whatever Cider pointed out to him. And I think before we touch on the question that Snow asks Cider, during this like the third encounter,
the final encounter.
I think it was like the second or third, like before the final one.
Oh, okay.
After Ty kind of like gives Snow the verbal the verbal backhand. You know, Snow's kind of like reconsidering, like, okay, this whole destabilization plot. You know, what does this really mean to me? What am I really doing this for? Um, am I doing what is right? And so, you know, after that, after his after his annihilation, he decides to seek out someone who's going through a change of his own. And we cross over to Storm, who's been on his own journey, and we'll go into more detail when we get to him.
Yeah, there's a bit of a crossover here.
Yeah, and Storm's kind of living a very ascetic life at this point. You know, he's not seen a lot. He's got no clothes on. He's looking very famished, very gaunt. Going on his own journey with Radalac, clearing some rubble, and Snow seeks him out. Initially, doesn't find him because he could be anywhere on the turtle, but eventually, you know, figures out that if he just waits at the the old warehouse that got burnt down where Storm is clearing, he'd come across him, and he does. And I think so. Snow poses him the question about, like, hey, got the Prime Stone, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I don't actually know what I'm actually doing all this stuff for.
Yeah.
And what does Storm have to say about that?
Storm, now a little more connected with society, more connected with the people of the town. He says to do it for the people. Mm-hmm. Everything you do right now is for the people. It's for the little guy. Mm-hmm. It's for those who've been trampled upon. It's because it's not just you guys who are getting the short end of the stick every day. Because you guys came in 3 months ago, and you've been kind of like fucked over like constantly. But these guys, ever since the day they were born on this sea, they've been constantly getting fucked over by these primes.
Every day's a struggle.
Yeah, and that is who Storm is doing this for, and he kind of feels that he's a lot more in tune with the citizens after his change is the best way to describe. Should we talk about what he did first?
I think we'll get to it. We'll get to him. We'll talk about him next, and we'll get into him. But yeah, he's going through a real challenging part of his journey right now, as he's speaking to Snow, and he doesn't complain, he doesn't gripe, he doesn't feel bitter. He's just taking it all in his stride, and he's taking it as a journey of growth. And he says, you know, we should do all this for the people. You know, a war is it's not all it chalked up to be. A lot of people do die, and sometimes that huge loss of life is not worth the end goal, however righteous or virtuous it may be. And so Snow's like, okay, well, I do have a Prime Stone, but it's almost worthless. It's almost worthless. It doesn't make you have a position of power. All it does is you get a vote and you get a target on your back. And Storm's like, well, don't do anything with it right now. You don't have to do anything. Just hold on to it. We can sit on it, and maybe there will be a time where it will be useful and we can use it for good instead of using it for war or whatever. And Snow seems to take that into consideration, and he gives Storm the Prime Stone for safekeeping, which I think Storm like puts in his butt or something like that.
Up his ass. Because he's not wearing a shirt. He's like, what the fuck do I put
He's got like some torn up pants. Yeah. Like, and there was those fancy
the
pants.
Original pants.
His fancy pants, and now they're like
rags.
They're rags.
Raggedy.
Barely recognizable, so dusty. And Snow takes that into consideration, and he really ponders on it. And as he's pondering, he's working on his big project, the next project that Saidar gives him, the house. And, it's coming along nicely. Obviously, there's still mistakes. Saidar is nitpicking every single thing.
That's right.
Not because he hates Snow or whatever. It's because he wants Snow to see the best. Yeah, he wants to see the best. He's expecting perfection. Because a house, like, if you have a defective house, Sooner or later, it's gonna fail whoever's
Yeah.
living in it, and you can't have that. A house is forever, or at least for a long time, for a lifetime.
House
Right?
is temporary. Home is
A home
forever.
is forever.
Mm-hmm.
And Snow poses the question to Sidar, and he says, what would you change about Huria if you could change anything at all?
Yeah.
And what does Sidar say?
He says if he could, he'd want to build a home for those without, especially for those in the slums, those who are getting beaten down, trodden upon. If he could afford to, if he had enough hands, he would build them all a home.
A home for everyone. And
Home
then
for everyone.
Snow says, would you go to war for that? Would you go to war to achieve that?
And he thinks for a very, very long time. He stares up into the sky. His eyes kind of glaze over a bit. The cogs in his head. You know, it's from the outside, you can see that he's flashing back to moments in his past. You know, maybe random stuff like his son not wanting to become a carpenter like him. His son going out and trying to be an adventurer, and then maybe like getting himself killed or something. And then that kind of broke apart his family. And his only thing in life now is the Carpenters Guild, and that's his new family. And he just kind of thinks like all that pain, all that conflict, is it worth peace in the end, or at least some semblance of peace, someone else's vision of peace. And he says, well, really, I don't know. Yes, it's just not a question you can answer. He doesn't know the answer. If he knew the answer, he'd be pursuing it right now. He's just doing the best he can for the people in the city. Sometimes the best just really isn't enough. Sometimes dramatic change is necessary, like you said. It's just a hard answer, and you're both just kind of stuck in this confused state. Like, well, what do we do? What can we do?
What is there to do?
Yeah,
and yeah, lots of quiet contemplation, and then I think from then on, Snow kind of like eases off all the snooping, all the investigations from the primes, and he kind of focuses on the house as a point of meditation, as something to work towards as he processes all these thoughts and conflicts that's going on in his mind. And in the end, you know, all he's thinking about is the house. Sometimes he goes to the inn and forgets to like return the tools. You know, sometimes he's like lugging materials back and forth from all over the city just to build the house. And even I think Snow and Tokel have a chat about like, you know, what Tokel would use Elvish for, and he's like, and think Tokel says something like, "Hey, so how's all the snooping going?" And then Snow says something like, "Oh, you know, actually haven't been doing that much of it. You know, I kind of failed in that aspect, but in the end, all I think about is the house. All I think about is the house that I'm building, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that it's perfect." And yeah, it was kind of like a turning point for Snow. A second turning point.
Another one.
A second turning point for Snow.
It's development, baby.
And then in the end, after the 3 months, at the end of the third month, he finishes it. How's that interaction go between Sidar and Snow?
So there they are in front of the house, and it's complete. And Snow's like, well, what do you think? Like, is there anything I can change? And you can kind of see in Serta's eyes that obviously there are some things that he would change as a person, that it's kind of personal preference for him, but he understands that you as a person is completely different from him. Your perception of a perfect home is different from his perception of a perfect home, and his only answer is that it is perfect because you built it, and he didn't help you at all. All he did was tell you what to do. He didn't lay a single brick, he didn't cut a single piece of wood, he did nothing, he didn't nail any foundations. It was all Snow. And just because of that, he said it was absolutely perfect, and that he couldn't have asked for something better. That was his answer for that.
And I think he was like, okay, well, now you're ready. And Snow's like, ready for what? You're ready to live. And
ready to
that's
go
like,
past this,
and it was like, I think there was a long silence, and Snow's just thinking it over, and he looks at the house and he thinks, yeah, but I don't think I'll live here, because I think Sidar was like, when he gave the task of the home building to Snow, he's like, you're gonna build yourself a house so you can live in it.
Yeah. And
then in the end, Snow's like, yeah, but I don't think I'll live here.
It's not for me.
It's not for me. Not that like carpentry's not for him, but he's like, this specific house, it's not where my journey ends, you know. And there was a really heartfelt moment where like you know, he's like, yeah, well, we'll give it to someone, you know, and well, we can sell it. He said we can sell it, and so I was like, no, just give it to someone, you know, don't. I don't want money for this, right? People don't have to pay to have a home, or they shouldn't have to pay to have somewhere to live. You know, one of the core tenets of survival: shelter, food, water, food, water, and shelter. You know, and like, yeah, and then they like, you know, Snow's like, you know, thanks for teaching me everything, because I think Sada's like, I don't have anything
the
more to teach you.
apprenticeship's over. It's there's kind of this moment for Siro here, right?
Yeah.
There's kind of this moment where you're both talking about the house and what you're gonna do with it, and I think at this point he kind of realizes that you're looking way past where Siro can even see. Like your goals, your aspirations are much further than just building a house for somebody. Like there's something else out there for you, and it doesn't end here. And that just then he's just like, well, this is my stop. This is my stop in your life. This is where I've done all I can for you, and I hope that you can take my lessons into your journey. And he's just sitting there thinking about it for a while, and you kind of there's this moment where you both are looking at each other, right? And
so
you're saying goodbyes.
He sticks out his hand for a handshake, because that's how they like.
Yeah.
That's how they started off, with a firm handshake. So it's like, better end it with a firm handshake. But he doesn't do that.
Like rough man, he goes in one step, and kind of looks at the hand, and you're kind of at a handshaking distance now, right? But then he takes another step, and you're close, and he just kind of wraps his arms around Snow. And there's just this, it's like kind of an awkward hug, right?
It's very intimate, even for like, and then they're both, I think Snow and him are both people who don't.
They don't do this.
They don't do that sort of thing. They don't get close to people like that. You know, they have their own way of showing love, but it's not that. That's not their love language, you know?
Yeah. Physical contact. It's not up there.
And, he goes in for a big man hug. And, like, Snow's like, he doesn't know what to do. He's kind of, like, squished in between this big man's arms. And he just, like, you know, kind of meekly wraps his arm around him, and they hug it out. And, I think Sidar sheds a tear. Did you shed a tear in real life?
I was close. I was a little close. You know, it kind of gets to you a little bit. He kind of like sheds a single tear, but before Snow can even see it, he's already wiping it away. Like, I didn't cry, no.
Yes, full of stoicism.
Yes, the man must keep his brave face on for eternity.
And I think Snow is also like doing that. Like, probably not just because that's who he is, but like, you know, he's now a party leader. He needs to be strong, you know. He needs to try and be strong for all the guys that rely on him for leadership and that sort of thing. And, you know, but I think, Snow still has a long way to go in terms of character development, but that was like a big climax for his character arc. Yeah. So excited to see where he goes. Hope there's more stuff like that for the other characters.
I hope so too.
Yeah. And I think a point I want to make about Snow's whole downtime arc is a lot of that stuff, like, you didn't even like set up.
I didn't plan for that.
Like, a lot of that stuff, I just wanted to make my own moments with the other characters. Like that moment with Storm. I didn't. You didn't plan for that to happen. I just said I want to talk to Storm after I got bitch slapped by Ty, and I wanted to like get this guy's opinion. Storm, this guy who nobody trusted, who had a big betrayal at the end of last year, you know, losing that deal with Solus. Everyone thought that this guy was untrustworthy.
Yeah, get him out of here.
And now Snow, who was the main instigator of like the whole Storm trial, is coming back to him for advice.
His opinion,
which I thought was great.
Yeah, it's like this level of respect that wasn't there before. Is now kind of settled in. It's great.
And then and the whole asking Sidar about the question, like, you know, I thought that if anyone had any sort of respectable wisdom to have on what's right and wrong, would be Sidar, a guy so single-mindedly dedicated to his craft.
Yeah, he's just like, he's an average guy who's just tried his best his whole life. Yeah. He's not magically inclined. He doesn't have brute strength. He's not a warrior or anything. He's just a guy with a skill who tries to do his best.
Yeah, and I think out of all the arcs, this was like the most philosophical out of all of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is sometimes you don't have to rely on the DM to make your own fun. Okay, you can just have a moment when you want a moment. And I think I've said this many times before, but now I'm really
Keep saying it.
because this
Keep
is
saying it.
this is the next level of being a player, right? you can be all reactionary and just like fight the monsters the DM throws at you, talk to the NPCs that the DM brings in front of you, but the next step is like taking initiative. Talk to the other players. Like check in with the characters. Say, I saw what happened there. Are you okay? Or if your character is having concerns or conflicts in their mind, just ask for advice, right? Like, of course, it's not gonna be good advice all the time, but like that's what friends do in real life. Like when they need like someone to talk to, when they need another perspective, they talk to their friends.
That's
That
right.
sort of thing. And it's the same with your D&D characters.
Yeah.
Treat them like they're real people. And I could probably guarantee you will have a much richer experience in D&D because that emotional investment is there. So, yeah. And if you're afraid to do so, that's fine. Because at the start of D&D, I thought role-playing like my edgy character was stupid. Like I felt so dumb doing it. So dumb.
Yeah.
Like even doing the voice sounded
hurdle.
stupid. Like because that's
It's
stuff you
definitely
do
a
in grade school. But like it's different. It's different because like you're putting thought into it. It's not just like
Putting on a silly voice.
you're not just playing pretend
That's
because
right.
you're bored. It's like there's a story here. Like characters in a book or characters in a movie and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
There's a level of depth and nuance that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
And that level of depth adds a level of depth to the campaign itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with Kevin that doing so adds a level of complexity to characters. And it would probably, I really can't say personally from being a player experience, but it would definitely, at least for you, increase your experience in the campaign. What you like and how it feels.
Yeah, you'll get such a richer experience out of D&D if you go ahead and make moments for yourself,
Yeah.
Obviously there's some moments that just come out of the blue and they're great, but they're also rare. And you can also just make your own moments. Like everyone thinks Critical Role is great because they think Matt Mercer is a great DM. What a lot of people don't understand is Matt Mercer is a great DM, but his players are also great players.
They are very good players.
Because they all take initiative, they all, care about each other's places, they all have such a high level investment that it just kind of elevates the game to the next level, right? That's why it seems like
level.
That's why it seems like Critical Role is like you have the Matt Mercer effect, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just like
The best.
everyone's having expectations of levels that are seemingly unreachable because they think that it's one or two things that makes Critical Role great, but really it's a whole number of things that makes Critical Role so great because of. And I think the number one thing is player investment and DMing. Matt's a great DM, but it's not a one man show.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
That's advice for new players out there. If any new players are listening, by the way.
Yeah, but also that I'm also talking to
players.
I'm also talking to our players. Okay, I'm not singling anyone out, but like this is a message to all. This is a prime example of how D&D can go from good to great. All right, level up your player skills.
Oh.
Be the best you can be.
Ooh, okay.
Fill your potential.
Prime example. No pun intended. All right. Maple? Or no? Let's go.
Storm. Storm was second.
Storm. From what you said before, Storm is on this spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because he is trying to get that religion proficiency. At least that's what the beginning goal was. He decided that, well, if I'm going to try and get rid of this demon mark, I'm going to get more in tune with all the gods and Radalac and see if this helps in kind of ridding himself, exercising off this demon mark, and trying to be the better person, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think at this part of the story, he's kind of realized that, like, because it was his own idea to get the demon mark, because he thought, like, I get more power from it. And he was, and he wasn't apologetic about that for the longest time. But then I think after the whole Storm trial, he realized, oh, I actually have to be responsible about what I actually do. Otherwise, it affects the people around us,
Yeah. and he took that very seriously, I think. And
Mm.
this is it's not exactly a curveball, but it was kind of out of the blue that we were going down this path with Storm, the troublemaker,
Yeah, the team
the kind of
chaos.
sassy.
Yeah, the chaos side of the party. You know.
It was good. So he goes up to Radalak. He's like, hey, can you teach me? Can you tell me what to do to become a better person and help me get rid of these demons or demon inside of me? And Radalak's like, huh. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you got what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you strip for me? And then there's just awkward silence at the table. Like, what? Wait, what did you just say? And Storm and Lewis, being the ever man of fortitude he is, doesn't hesitate. He starts getting naked. He takes off his shirt, and Radalak inspects him and says, "You're skinny. It's just skin and bones. You ain't got no meat
Mm-hmm.
on these bones. You gotta buff up, and I'm gonna help you. But first, you gotta help yourself." And he's just like, "Stop praying.
Your faith is weak.
You
Your
need to
faith
stop
is
praying."
weak. Yeah.
And Storm is like, how do I stop praying? Radalak says nothing. Radalak gives no advice. He just says, "Start praying. I'll come back in a few hours, and you better still be praying. And then we can move to the next step." And Storm is he's trying his things. He's doing the Tokul. I think he's mimicking Tokul's way of praying. You know, the
Yeah.
classic Christian
But
hands together kind of
even
thing.
Tokul doesn't even know how to pray. He just kind of closes his eyes and he's like,
He just kind of whispers to,
Angvir, hey,
"If you're out there."
can you are we cool now, Angvir? Are we cool now? Oh, we forgot about that. We forgot about Tokul's arc. He did try to pray to
He
Angvir a
did
lot,
try to communicate
but
with Angvir.
wasn't successful.
He wasn't successful, but I think his actions were much more successful in finding, in getting the attention of Angvir rather than his direct contact with the god.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Storm tries to mimic this, and he tries his best, sure, and really to no real success. You know, he's just kind of sitting there praying, doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Radalak comes back, and he's like, "All right, come with me. Let's go do some training. You leave all your stuff here. You just need the pants, and that's it. You leave your shirt, just the pants. You leave your money. You leave your belongings. You leave your loot,
Your loot.
the music, every possession that makes up your personality. You're leaving here, and you're just gonna leave it in this bag. And we're leaving right now."
Yeah.
And he walks him all the way to the warehouse district near the slums, where the session before that, you guys burnt down this warehouse
Yeah.
during a confrontation with the Ubanian Night
Yeah.
Watch.
Yep.
And he just kind of looks at Storm, and he's like, "All right, you're gonna clear all this debris."
Mm-hmm.
And Storm's like, "All right." He just starts summoning up some magic, and then Radalak's like, "Nope, no magic. You're doing this barehanded, without any help,
One stone at a time.
one stone at a time, from first light to last light. And I'm not gonna give you any shelter. I'm not gonna give you any food, and I'm not gonna give you any water. You are gonna live on these streets, and this is gonna be the only thing you're gonna do until I say stop."
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. And Storm is, woo. He's like, "Ah, shit, I'm kind of fucked." But
Storm is a man of materialism. Right? He liked that goldiness. He liked that gold.
Mm-hmm.
He liked showing off. He liked getting attention. He liked money.
Yeah.
And this is just, he's stripped of all of that. He's a
Yeah.
fish out of water.
He's not just stripped of his material possessions, but also of his reputation and anything that came with it.
Yeah.
And so he, one by one, he starts lifting up these rocks. He's clumsy at first. He's trying to get the best one, maybe like pile of 5 rocks or maybe a big rock, who knows. And he has to carry it from the warehouse to the city walls, to the city gate, outside through a very long road all the way to the end of the turtle, the big shell where he has to just kind of throw it off
Yeah.
into the desert.
And that's like 3 or 4 Ks.
3 or 4 Ks, yeah.
One way.
And he doesn't get a bag. He just has the pants on his legs. That's it. And he just has to carry them with his arms and just go back and forth every day. And he does so every single day. And I think we talk about how he has different spots where he likes to sleep. Like he sometimes sleeps like right under the church, and he goes to the natural fountains for his water. And he meets up with Tokul sometimes, who was giving out bread to these.
I think Tokul like
beggars.
sneaks him some bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like a little interaction where like
It was cute. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's nice to have these interwoven crossroads between different characters.
Yeah, it's a great character arc where it's like it's definitely one of those ones where it's like it seems so out of place for him to act so with such humility
diligent
and diligence.
yeah, yeah, and he doesn't stop. There's not a single moment where he wavers like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. What's the fucking point, right? And it doesn't even really get that much better for him because he's not really eating that well, right?
Yeah.
So by the end,
because he's basically a homeless beggar.
Yeah,
just like surviving off the
his workout every single day, and like by the end of the first month, he's just toned. There's no like increase in muscle or bulk or anything because he's not really eating. There's no nutrition going into this cat man, but he doesn't complain. He keeps going.
He is toned, but he is pretty skinny at this point, and I think that's around the time where Snow talks to him. And I like what he says to Snow. Like he's like, before you say anything, grab a rock. And
Come with me.
He gets Snow to help him out a little. And I kind of like that.
That was cute. He has this conversation with Radalak during this period, where he's like, "I'm helping out, but what's next? What happens?" And I think Radalak says something along the lines of, "If you help the city will help you."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this kind of mirrors itself like a few days into the second month, where this butcher, this no-name butcher, this big kind of buff guy, kind of gives him this like hunk of meat off the bone, and he's like, "I'll be back tomorrow. Just make sure you're here, and I'll give you this."
Yeah,
and
I think at this point he's like, Storm is trying to like help people whenever he can.
Yeah.
Like while he's also lugging the stones back and forth.
That's right. And the townspeople are beginning to take note of this guy, and they're kind of helping him out a little bit. And because of this, he gets the nutrition he needs to kind of beef up, bulk up, you know? And over the course of this month, he gets bigger and bigger. And at the end of the second month, there's this small interaction where he's sleeping in the middle of the night, and he gets awake by this stranger, this person who creeps up close to him, or tries to creep up close to him, and lays down this set of clothing beside him and kind of slinks off back into the night. And I was mostly expecting him to figure out who it was, but he didn't.
He didn't.
But
we had our guesses of who it was.
We did have a few guesses. I'm not sure.
Maybe it was his brother, Thunder.
Yeah, maybe it was one of you guys. Maybe it was Radalak. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody guessed it right.
We didn't guess it right?
I mean, you find out who it was at the end. Well, but you can kind of assume who it was at the end. Lewis knew who it was.
Okay.
And gets this new set of clothing. It's like this. It's not even like gaudy. It's not a good material or anything. It's just common clothing that seems to have been tailored for him.
Yeah.
It seems like someone has made this clothing just for him because they see he's doing good stuff, and they just want to give back to this man.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the end of the third month, he's pretty fucking beefy at this point. You know, he's kind of bulked up. He's been lugging these rocks. He's found out the expert how many rocks he can carry, the precision, like how to hold them properly. And he gets to the final rock, and there's this like crowd gathered around him, and it's got you guys in it. It's got Snow, it's got Tokul, it's got Ryan, it's got Maple. They're all kind of watching as
we've heard that the last stone is being picked up by Storm. We all come there to watch it happen.
Watch the encouragement, and the whole like group of you guys plus all these lowly villagers or townspeople. They follow him out of town. They follow him to the edge of the city, the 3 kilometers. They go the whole journey with this man just to watch him throw a stone off a fucking cliff.
Yeah,
like how mundane is that? And then there's this moment, and I think Lewis does this really well, where he kind of describes the final the exasperations, or the final, what's it called, the breath out, the exhale.
Yeah, the sigh of relief.
Yeah, where it's not just he's kind of letting go of the rock, he's letting go of every other burden he's had to put up so far. And it's weirdly symbolic, and it's great because this stuff doesn't come naturally. Like no one planned it to be like this, but Lewis runs with it really well, just like you did, and he kind of makes the most of it. And this is like the climax of his art, where he's letting everything go. After this, he's a new person, and he kind of looks to the crowd. He sees everybody who's appreciated him, who's tried to help him during this time. You guys are there, and he sees motherfucking the person he doesn't want to see at all, the person he hates the most. And this is the true secret climax, secret boss of his arc.
True ending.
True ending. Igma in the crowd. He recognizes this silhouette. Hey, that's pretty similar to the shadow that crept up on me and gave me that pair of clothing that while ago, huh? And he, for those who don't know, he fucking reviles this man. It's not even a man. It's more like a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, because Storm killed his uncle.
Yep, and then pissed off his dad. Called him a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bad blood there, and Igma, although not on good terms, has maybe a newfound sense of respect for this man who is trying his best to become a new person. And Storm, the man who has so much pride it kind of flows out of his butt, has to swallow it.
Mm-hmm.
He has to swallow his pride.
He doesn't even bask in the glory. He just gets back to work.
He swallows his pride and acknowledges Igma, perhaps as an equal, who knows. He gives them, they both have a nod of respect for Igma, slinks away back into the shady dealings of whatever. And Storm comes out of it a new man. He returns to Radalak, and Radalak explains to him that he would not survive the demon severance ritual without having a physical body to match the I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's not the only thing. Like, he needs probably like
it was much more than that.
Like a sense of spirituality that he didn't have before, you know?
Yeah.
Some sort of faith.
And he's like, this is all I can do for you. Once we get everything in order, you get that big ass gem, we can get this shit done.
Yeah.
And Storm asks, hey, is it possible to get rid of the other Mark II?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of this might be something. I don't know. I didn't really think about that either, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, Storm had this crazy, kind of like you, where he has this very crazy character development arc, both physically and mentally, which was crazy to see. I didn't really expect to see this much change in a single session. It was great. I liked that a lot. Not a lot of plot relevant stuff happens in this session though, for him, at least.
No, I mean, I think
out
of all the arcs, the character arcs, they're all very personal. None of them really move the story ahead very much at all, but it moves their own stories ahead. So, I mean, yeah, great. I think that's more interesting anyway. I think the personal journeys are more interesting than the overall plot.
I like it. And finally,
we come to Big Maple.
Big M. Maple himself, the man who has been invited to the rune scholars, the traditionalist mages of the old, those who prize themselves above all else.
The dirty bourgeoisie capitalist regime of mages.
Look, they deserve magic because they're geniuses. They're born with it. They don't need to share their secrets with anybody else. Why would they? Why should they? They deserve this. They were born for this, you know?
Just what the rich would say.
The dirty mudbloods, the muggles, they don't need this. They don't have what it takes to be like us. We're the
So he goes to join them? Like he goes to join them at first?
The very first. Because
he doesn't get invited by them.
No, he gets invited by them. He got invited by them at the end of the last
at the end, but at the start of his arc this session, he voluntarily goes to them for work, right?
Yeah, because they're the only ones that kind of offered him in the first place. And they pay good.
100 G's per month, which is...
Per week.
Oh, per week?
Uh-huh.
Oh, shit. Oh, I've got that wrong then.
That's right.
I've got that wrong in the...
He gets paid quite a bit.
That's yummy money.
It is some good-ass money. Because I think he did some scribe work for writing scrolls and stuff. And not only do they offer that, they also offer to teach him spells.
Which is what he wants.
Which is exactly what he wants. 5th level spells, 4th level spells, 3rd level spells, 2nd level spells, and 1st level spells.
Oof.
He gets it all. These guys, they take care of their own, you know? They're kind of assholes.
I mean, the bourgeoisie, that's what you expect. They got money.
Bad and bougie.
Because they ain't giving it to nobody else.
Yeah. They got a lot of resources on their side. And from what I had written, a lot of their members are kind of like the old professors of the college, kind of like the old mages. So they're all quite powerful in their own right.
The old guard, yeah.
Yeah, they're a faction that is... Yeah, they are boomers. They're a faction of boomers who are magically powerful. And they kind of have a lot of sway in the college.
Yeah.
and he's kind of content working for them. He's like, yeah, this is sick. I get money, I got spells, we good, we doing,
Yeah.
we eating well,
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
eating good. And then the second month he gets a letter. Hey, there's another guild out, and there's another mage guild out there, and they're the dirty scum who help the poor and protect the innocent by
Yeah.
sharing their spells.
I think he has a conversation with one of the old guard mages. And well, how does that conversation go?
Don't you dare go even close to those guys. They're dirty scum, fucking impure, disgusting, mudded blood, piece of shits
Yeah.
who share our secrets with the outside world, and they don't deserve it either because they're scum. And Maple's like, yeah, I guess I won't go over there, but I will go over there.
He'll check it out. And I
Yeah.
think he has a conversation with the new mages, mages who do good for the working class. You know,
Yeah, because someone kind of pointed out it's like because they're all college students. Most of them are like college students.
the
Like,
younger mages.
yeah, like the graduates.
They have a new mindset on things.
Yeah, they see the world differently. It's much more progressive. Most of their work entails going out and conjuring water for the farms and food for the poor, stuff like that. And Maple's kind of down and diggity with that. Issue is they ain't got as much money. They ain't got that old money.
And Maple is expectedly quite conflicted by that. Maple has not come from a lot of money. You know, he's always been the kind of character we joke about being
The poorest,
in the party. Even though by the end of last year, everyone had zilch. But he wanted to hold on to his money, so he's becoming getting the dragon's disease.
Yeah. He's squirreling that money away. He's got that dwarfism. I don't know. But he's like, well, I guess these are good people, even though they don't pay as much.
There was definitely like an air of reluctance, but in the end, he knows what he's doing is right.
He has a good conscience for what he's doing. I didn't force him to do anything. He chose that himself. So. Yeah, maybe his character's not such a bad guy.
Maybe, but you know, it's hard to let go of the money. You know,
once you get a taste of that 100 gold per week.
Yeah.
Going down to 25 is kind of hurts, you know.
But it's great because like that's probably what's holding him back. You know, as a person, you know, Storm's got this vanity and like this pride that like. He can't let go of, and Snow has kind of like this blind zealousness that
it's like a bit of a rage in him, right?
Yeah, and like I think that's kind of like resembled in the masks. You know, the stuff that we get from the short and stout, which we'll probably get to after we talk about Maple.
Everything, yeah.
But yeah, like the mask is kind of like resemblance of like the kind of his deep internal struggle that he has with his identity and like, you know, all the shit that he's going through. And like, you know, even Tokul's fucked up with Envir, right? And like, you know, he's always someone just to charge in without thinking about stuff at all. And now he's kind of like learning that, hey, you can't just wave your prince card around and pretend
it's
that
not gonna be enough,
and expect that, you know, all the Dragonborn are gonna recognize you as the prince and you know, rally behind you to usurp your uncle. And for Ryan, even though he doesn't have that much character development this session, he's also like
he has gone through a bit in the previous.
He's also like running away from his past, right? He's trying to get away from that. He's trying to make a new man out of himself and trying to see the good in people instead of, you know, the brutal pragmatism that Ubanians see. Like they see someone and they see, what can I get out of him, you know,
what can that person do for me?
Yeah. Exactly. And he's trying to see the people behind all the stuff.
I mean, even he had the confrontation with his past in the form of his old comrade a few sessions ago. So I think everyone's kind of going in a pretty decent direction with their character development. Maple, he sheds his greed for the betterment of the people, you know?
Yeah.
He's out there, he's conjuring water for the Storm to drink out of.
What was the pay cut? It was like 20, it went from 100 G's per week to 25 per month?
25 per week. I think it was a week as well.
Oh, okay. I must have just misheard that. But
But he,
It would be pretty funny if it just went all the way down to
like
25
to
per
the chump
month.
change.
What would that calculate to? That would calculate to like 5.25, 5 golden and 25 silvers a week. That's
Yeah,
5%.
Fucked. Yeah, he chooses. He makes his choice, and he gets absolutely lambasted. He gets roasted by the rune scholars. He's banned from there now.
So
He lost his job.
I didn't hear that. Did he actually like have like an interaction with?
There wasn't really an interaction, but we just kind of said that yeah, they're not letting you in anymore. They know who you are. They know what you've done, so you're out. You kind of made an enemy out of these people, and it's not just that he's getting rid of these kind of assholes, because they also had a position of power within the city.
He's losing that influence.
And although maybe there's some power with these new guys, they aren't as powerful as the fucking professors.
No, they're
just kids. They're just
it's
students.
like leaving Google to join a garage company. You know.
Yeah, and but he's doing it in good conscience, and I like that. And his third month takes him on a bit of a trip. A bit of a wild ride. He gets a bit of a character plot.
He gets a mysterious letter from Ernest, right?
Yes.
Someone who knows where his sister is, which is kind of Maple's personal quest.
Maple has been going on a journey to find his sister so far, and Ernest, who had previous encounters with his sister around maybe 50, 60 years ago, he kind of lit this spark, ignited this spark inside Ernest to go out and start gathering information to try and find her again, to find his long-lost lover or long-lost friend again. And they've been communicating the past few months, and really there hasn't been much until he gets this final letter, which is kind of ominous, like, hey, let's have this kind of like final meeting together.
He gets a cryptic letter that says, I have news.
Yes,
It doesn't even say, come see me, it's just, I have news.
Yeah.
And Maple immediately
Let's
knows
go.
what he's like, I gotta go over there.
And he gets tailed. By a mysterious masked, hooded, not masked, just a hooded figure. And the shadow just kind of goes over the face. He has no idea who it is. And he tries to lose them. And he succeeds in the worst way possible by kind of fucking up and stumbling. And the figure's just like, well, I'm not dealing with this guy. He's obviously a bumbling fool. I'm going to do my own shit now.
Yeah.
And he kind of follows the figure back, all the way back to Ernest's little magical shop.
Which is funny. It's just funny. He goes from being the one being followed to
the follower.
Yeah.
And he tracks that person there, and he goes into the store, and nobody's there. Nobody's there at all. So he goes into the back, where he finds Ernest in this room that's completely kind of cluttered, kind of messed up. All these papers on the ground, all these notes scribbled everywhere, and they all kind of relate to snow elves. And there are quite a few passages to directly talk about the famous assassin snow elf, the Pale Shadow. And there's kind of this link there. I remember you looking at me like, huh? What'd you say?
Yep.
And we just kind of skip over that a little bit, and they have this deep conversation about what's going on, and how Ernest is trying his best, but he doesn't think he can physically make it there anymore. He's kind of tuck it out. He's much more pale, much more pallid. He's old. He's aging. He can't even get out of bed.
I think you made a point that he was visibly much older. Like, he looked much older and weaker than when Maple last saw him, which wasn't too long ago.
Yeah.
So something must have happened there.
Yeah. Something's taken its toll on him.
Yeah.
Or maybe everything's just kind of let loose now. And he's like, well, I have some news. There's some elves in this city. And they seem to be of the Snow Owl clan. Snow Owl? No, just the Owl clan. Just the Owl clan. But I can't really help you after that. Instead,
because he ran into a dead end. So
Yeah.
he was just like, I can't progress anymore.
I can't physically progress, and I can't help anymore. Instead, I have called in a favor from this person right here, and from the shadows, it kind of warps around. And you know what? Someone called the Shadow Sword didn't see someone in the shadows, huh? Anyway, it kind of melds around the shadows. This woman, a half-elf woman, aren't as curved as the normal, aren't as pointed as normal elves, but quite aren't as curved as normal humans. There's a bit of an edge to them, but not quite. And she's obviously a half-elf. She's got kind of palish skin, but she's got a little tan to it, and she's much more.
She's got that human tint to her.
Yeah. I imagine elves to be kind of lanky, And so she's a little more curvaceous, a little more humany, and obviously much more beautiful than the average human. And Ernest says, "This is my daughter Elswith."
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then I remember looking at Lachlan, and he's like, "Yeah." He gave me this. Oh shit!
Oh, I think everyone was kind of like, "Oh, secret baby."
And there was quite a few like, "Damn, you got it on with an elf."
Yeah.
Ernest did well for himself as a young 20-year-old man or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, or maybe not so obviously, well, no one says it explicitly. But
Yeah, it's very much implied that there was a relationship there, and that Elswith is a product of the union between Ernest and Olive.
yes,
probably.
Maple's sister.
Yeah.
Which makes Elswith the niece of Maple.
Mabel, yeah.
And she absolutely looks down on this man, this bumbling idiot who couldn't lose her in a crowd. And she just
bad first impression. Yeah.
She goes off at him for fucking wasting her father's time on this pointless pursuit of this woman she's never even met in her entire life.
Yeah,
This woman who abandoned her and her father.
Yeah, I think she made a point that, Ernest was looking for Olive way before like Maple started talking to him about it. But then
he gave up.
He gave up. But even then, he spent a lot of his life doing that.
Yeah.
And then after meeting Maple again, he's like, it's back on. The search is back on.
Yeah, it's like he kind of found peace, and then Maple came in and was like, "Nope, we going back. We're looking for this sister again," and he kind of threw his life into this turmoil, upside down again. And although Ernest is quite content with that, she isn't very happy about that.
Yeah, obviously she loves her dad, and she's just trying to look out for him.
Yeah.
And Maple didn't know the context of like how bad it was with him, so I mean it can't really be blamed, but it's understandable from her point of view.
Yeah, she's just a worried daughter at this point.
Yeah, and her dad, he's dying.
Yeah,
like,
she's all yeah, she didn't get raised by a mother.
Yeah,
her mother fucking disappeared.
Yeah.
And her mother's the cause of why her father kind of neglected her because he was spending all his time chasing his mother.
Exactly.
So she's this, for her mother is this object of hate, of disgust.
Yeah, somebody who ruined her life, and she puts all the onus on her, on Olive. So that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be
a relationship.
That's gonna be a cool dynamic that's gonna play out. I'm thinking like, she's part Snow Elf. Maybe she may be curious about her lineage, or maybe she's not gonna be curious.
She absolutely hates.
Maybe she has all Snow Elves. That's gonna be interesting. That's also gonna be interesting. I wonder how she's gonna interact with Snow. Probably with like the same amount of disdain.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less.
But she like directly related. It might be one of those things where it's just like, oh, if this is how my mom acted,
then all Snow Elves
and
will be like
this,
and
then she'll immediately cast a blanket of generalization on all Snow Elves. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting plot point. The plot thickens with Maple.
Yeah, there's some extra meat to these bones.
I'm glad he's starting to get his quest fleshed out.
Yep. But it's also not going to happen until they get to the city, which in the elves, the Snow Elves are.
Yeah. So I think Ernest says that there is a community of Snow Elves like in this place.
Yeah.
In this place called, or is it Altagira?
Altagira,
which is a port town on the northern coast of the desert.
Yes.
Which is very far away because we're on the southern side of the continent.
Southwestish side, yeah.
So we might not get there for a long, long time.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that's where we end off with his.
That's about where we ended off for there.
Yeah, so that's
his little arc, his big arc actually.
He's got to now deal with his now new niece.
Yeah, he's just this niece that came out of nowhere, dropped out of nowhere.
Secret
family
niece.
He didn't even know he had.
Secret niece. Okay.
Yeah, it's like he spent all this time trying to find his family, only to be dropped with not exactly the family he was hoping for. It's a fun little plot twist. And so after that, we do a little housekeeping, and we kind of distribute the weapons that Short and Stout have been working on this whole time.
Yep. So what did everyone get?
So let's start with Snow.
Mm-hmm.
You got this white Oni mask with 3 red demon eyes and got these horns made out of dragon's teeth. The image looks fucking sick.
Yeah, I think I'll post that up on the episode discussion.
Oh yeah, you can do that.
Just so people have something to look at. But yeah, it's a cool demon mask. It doesn't have any sort of, you know, stats or anything tied to it.
Just,
but though it may in the future if we want to like try and go that angle.
For now, it's general badass.
Yeah, it's just a badass mask.
That's right.
There is a tiny bit of lore associated with it. It's supposed to resemble a demon of legend in Snow of Culture. And he's got he's supposed to have like a huge long legend about him. But basically, he's seen as a symbol of wrath and rage.
Ooh.
So yeah, he's got 3 eyes, long black demon horns made out of dragon teeth, and it's like stark white out of the dragon scales. So yeah, I just have to remember not to forget that I have that. So I have to write a list of all the shit that I have.
And when you start describing him, you'll probably have the mask on most of the time this time, right? Would he wear the mask over the bandages, or would the bandages come off and the mask goes on?
I'd probably just wear it over the bandages.
Okay.
Because, I mean, even though I think the bandages aren't there just to cover up Snow's hideousness from like the scars he's gotten from his past, but it also, his burns are so bad that like he needs to cover them up, because if they get exposed, you know, it's like he's burning all over again.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. You get a new piece of vanity, new piece of coolness. Ryan finally, the stat monger himself, the man, the min-max man.
he gets a +1 crossbow.
He gets a second +1 crossbow alongside his first one, which is this white kind of wyvern like bone with where the strings are kind of made from wyvern. What are they called? Oh, fuck. The sinew, like the sinews. And he also gets on the side for all the help he helped with Sword and Stout. He gets 3 teleportation bolts. And these things have shown themselves maybe once or twice during the whole campaign. We've talked about it before.
Is that like they're the same as the arrow that Snow used?
Yeah, okay. They're very same. Where you shoot it and you teleport to where it lands, pretty much. Maple has been working on, or Lachlan has been working on this sword for quite a while now, maybe like 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's drawn up this sword with this I think the blade is like a purple blade.
Yeah, it's like a dark
wakizashi.
Purple, like a night purple.
Yeah, it looks very nice, and it's got this gem slot in it, and in the hilt, and the
Yeah, I think that was like handle. He was intending to get like Gem of the War Mage off the old guard mages, but you know, he kind of reneged on that, so he's not getting that anymore. So now he's just got a short sword?
Yeah, and it's got a gem slot in it, and that's all he can do. Yeah, because but at least it looks cool. And eventually, maybe one day that gem will fall into his hands, or maybe one day a war will happen between the 2 guilds, and he'll just fucking steal it from their corpses or something. I don't know.
All right, the Shadow Blade. A new story to tell.
Storm gets his dragon inlay loot.
He's
where like bones make. I believe he wanted to make these little like rose patterns that kind of go up the base of the loot, which looks pretty sick in my imagination. And finally, after months of effort, literal months of effort, Tokul has been trying to get his armor repaired.
The armor of Envir.
The armor of envy.
After it turned to like almost dust.
Shattered into fragments.
After what Tokul did in the previous session. That's so funny to think about. Like
the very first session.
He like gets revived, has this full like come out of the grave Phoenix style, and then immediately like fucks it all up. Fucks it all up the next session. Oh,
one step forward, 2 steps back, you know?
More like 5 steps back.
And he's been working 1 step at a time to get back to where he was, and he's close. He's pretty fucking close. He gets a +1 plate armor, and that's the unpowered version of this thing. Like the runes aren't lighting up at all. The icon isn't going up, but he can finally wear it. And he's got what, 22 AC now or some shit?
Yeah,
something kind of nutty. Yeah,
he's ready to kick ass.
He's ready to get his ass kicked, but not go anywhere because he can't move. Yeah, and finally, that's where it ends, right? Or is there much else to it?
No, that's about it. I think
That's where the
about
session
it.
ends. It was a long one. It was a long one.
Yeah, it was a long one.
And it's
Yeah.
yeah, the time skip's still not over. There's still a few things I want to get done by the end of next session.
Yeah, we've got a couple more things you want to run through, and then we've got like the dinner party that the party is organizing.
That's right.
With like Lady Sari or something like that.
Yeah, well, you guys get to pick who. Try and convince whoever to come and wrestle their opinion on people and overthrow the politics of the whole place.
Then then we got the heist, and then we got like Lady Sari's second fight.
Mm-hmm. The big fight, the reenactment of the siege of Dornhelm. There was something I actually wanted to discuss. When we were talking about this privately, you said you'd like to hear a few minor events happening. I tried to weave them in, but there really wasn't much opportunity, like in between these like flash forwards and skips.
Yeah.
And I have this whole list that I just pulled up. Would you like to hear some of them?
Yeah.
So I wrote a list of 16, and I just had you roll d20s, and whatever landed on. Yeah. That would be what it was. So like one of them was a rebellion in the town of Kafas, which is where the where Huria just stopped, has been quashed by Baron Sigvis. The Kingdom of Danathar has enlisted the greatest mercenary company, the Sand Swords, to participate in the skirmish against the Empire. Whispers of the return of the infamous elvish assassin, the Pale Shadow, who murdered Great King Rayford of Danathar and then disappeared 70 years ago, have resurfaced. Oh, we should probably talk about that after this as well. Yeah. The great reenactment of the Siege of Dornhelm won't be held within the Colosseum. The popularity of the Blood Brothers is rising. Nice. The Stony Spire pirates have been eerily quiet recently. Ubanian Night Terrors have infiltrated the city. You guys got that one? The Crimson Connection branch holds a deep grudge against the Arena and the Garden. Paladins of the Cleansing Flames second chapter completely burned down and destroyed a mining village north of Nomansville. Apparently they uncovered an ancient artifact.
Callback.
Mysterious invitations are being sent to some of the greatest warriors of the continent, announcing a battle of some sort far in the future. Goods from the Sten Dwarves have been of extremely subpar quality lately. And they have refused to trade in person at all. Body Knock Knackle has something big planned. You guys already got that. Oh, this one should have been like just part of it, but I completely forgot. An entire block in the lower district has been burnt down. Nobody knows who the perpetrator was or what their motive is. There is a budding apprentice necromancer in the college. And the World Devourer, the giant purple worm, has been spotted circling around Huria. And has
we saw that.
We
saw that worm, didn't we?
Yes, you did. You did spot it once, where it swallowed an entire ship.
Yeah, I mean, I think you had us roll it at the end of every month, but they were just so not relevant to like.
They're just kind of like at the end of it. It's like, I probably should have just weaved them in naturally, but you know what? We can figure it out next time.
Yeah, I mean, something you can do instead of having it be like some disembodied role, and then you just saying it to us is like, whenever like we come across an NPC, they'd be like, "Hey, did you hear about the so and so?" Or just come up in conversation. Just like keep your eyes on the road. There's what
bandits about.
Yeah.
Pale Shadow.
The Pale Shadow. So
who is the Pale Shadow, Kevin? Like, who are they? What are they?
Well, initially, I thought this whole Pale Shadow business was the prince, the Snow Elf prince that Snow is trying to find, who's Snow's cousin named Uchi, and Snow and Uchi had an interaction a long time ago in Trident, and basically ever since then they've been like sporadically exchanging letters, and all this time, I thought the Pale Shadow was him. Because, Uchi seems to be a lot different than what he remembers. Snow remembers him as being kind of a bookworm, very shy, very sickly. Not really a man of the sword, but a man of words and, pen and paper. And, so naturally he just assumed that, he's taken a turn for the worse and he's found a thirst for blood. But it's revealed that, and I didn't get this at first when I got the letters like all those months ago. it's been revealed that like there was an old letter that Snow got when he arrived at the town before. Who are you? I think it's called Venture.
Yeah.
It's a very old letter, so apparently it's been sitting there for at least a couple hundred, at least 100 years or so.
Yeah, right on.
Very old. And it says something along the lines of, you know, we're gearing up to kill the betrayer, the slaughterer of our people, King Rayford. Yeah, and he says that he addresses Snow as like, you know, you'll be my brother in the dark. Your blade will drink his blood. My pale brother or my pale friend or something like that. And I didn't get that at first. I was like, what the hell? And Snow writes him a letter like, you know, was it you that brought me back or whatever it is? Or like, what does this mean? And it doesn't really get a response for that. And we were talking about that.
What, like right after the session?
Right after the session. And yeah, actually, just brought up the letter right now. He says that his last line of Uchi's letter, he says, I know we will succeed. There is no other option. For you are my blade in the dark, my ashen-faced best friend and brother. The guiding moonlight in my darkness, my pale shadow. And yeah, I should have just like got that straight away, but I never understood that until we talked about it. And yeah, it might be that Snow is an amnesiac that was the pale shadow in the time that he thought he was dead or whatever it was.
Or whatever, yeah.
Or asleep. So there's a whole new mystery opening up there. I'll have to remember to try and look into that, you know, in the coming sessions and try and unravel the mystery there. So, yeah, it's getting spicy.
It is getting spicy. It should have been getting spicy right after you read that letter, but you know what? We got there eventually.
I'm dumb. So, like, we got it in the end.
Yeah. I mean, the whole moniker Pale Shadow is kind of just a callback to Snow himself, right? Because, as you mentioned, like, when we very first started character creation, you said that even though snow elves are pale, he is, like, unnaturally pale. Like,
yeah, he's like ghost white.
Yeah, like, unnaturally pallid. And he always follows around the prince, right? He's kind of like the bodyguard of the prince. He kind of takes care of him, you know, guards him and whatnot, and he follows him all the way to when he evacuates off the island and betrays his whole family to make sure this prince gets out of it, you know? And so he shadows the prince, you know? He's the pale shadow of the prince.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But it's still not confirmed if that's you or not. This could still be the double fake out, you know, where I'm just like, just kidding. Like, this could mean something completely else.
You better like Death Note me. You'd be like triple fake.
Yeah, the triple fake. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting where this goes.
Yeah, all to find out in due time. So
yeah, there could be an arc where you just try to rediscover the past and figure out what the fuck happened. Or
I mean, you did say like you've got some good shit for that, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to try and dig deep for that, and I'm excited.
Yeah. Anything else we should talk about?
I think that's it. We back here, 2021.
I hate that so much.
We're back. Far Kingdoms is back.
Far Kingdoms.
Tune in. We'll be back every week, hopefully, after every session.
Yeah, see you in 4 months.
Yeah, and if you like it, just fucking comment, all right? Just get in the comments, okay? All right? Don't just sit in silence, okay?
Press the bell.
The more you sit in the silence, the more the bourgeoisie can have their hand over us,
Rise
okay?
up.
Rise up, all right? We're fighting for the working class, okay? We gotta get what's ours. Eat the rich. Oh, that's all I have to say.
And email us if you want.
Oh please!
Or join the Discord.
Oh please!
Should I check the emails? There's no point in me checking the emails because I know nobody's calling us.
There's nothing there.
Maybe next time someone will call us. You know?
But get in the comments, you son of a bitches! Get in the comments!
Alright, that's all we got.
Alright.
Peace.
Biana.